Hi everyone, Elliot Jacobson here for Advanced Advantage Play. And I got a very interesting email this morning that asked me three questions, and I want to share just one of those questions with you. So I have sort of cut and pasted the important part of this. And so hopefully you can read what this email says. What it is simply asking is if I was starting over with a $5,000 bankroll, and I was trying to make it as an advantage play, what plays would I focus on? Now, just to be really clear, I was never a professional advantage player, and I did not start with some bankroll and grow that bankroll and become an advantage player because of that. I know many people who have or are professionals, and I know their stories and how they got started. And so your question is certainly a very meaningful one, and one I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate just how complicated that question is to answer. So I did give this some thought, and let me just show you what I put together. I don't know if it's that great, but let me just show you what I think about your question. So, how to become an Advantage Play Pro on $5,000. Wow. Well, first of all, the most important advice I could possibly give you, more important than anything else, is number one, do not count cards in blackjack. I have a whole video on 7 reasons to never count cards. Well, it's even more important if you're starting out with $5,000 and you want to become a professional. So, what's the point? Well, there is really high volatility in this game. There's really a good chance that you're going to go broke if you make any sort of decent wagers at all with your $5,000 bankroll. But you're not going to make much of a profit. The earning potential is not particularly high. Counting cards at blackjack, especially with a $5,000 bankroll, effectively a $50 bank max bet, you might be looking at making $8 to $10 per 100 hands with that kind of bankroll. But most importantly is you're going to get caught. And if you really want to be an advantage play pro, you want to protect your identity. You want to keep yourself out of those books. You want to keep your photograph out of the catalogs and websites and other places where it would be shared. And pretty much everybody knows how to catch you and identify you if you are a card counter. So I have a whole video on that, like I say, so you can just go look that up in my channel. But let's get down to some things that might actually work here. So with so little money to work with, you want to make sure that you are always getting more value in a very sort of consistent, low volatility fashion than you put into the casino. And there is no easier target than marketing, especially if you have sort of very little to work with, but you can move around to a couple different casinos. It turns out that when you start, you get a new, fresh account in a casino, you often get perks associated with that new account. So I would start looking at getting these player cards everywhere you can, putting in some initial action, but sort of feeling out their marketing programs. Maybe being very patient, waiting for opportunities that you can recognize as advantages. So definitely that's what you want to do, is investigate every little bit of marketing you can. So for example, if you hear about a promotion somewhere that, like a 2-for-1 blackjack special or triple down, or any, a blackjack happy hour or any other sort of promotion or gift giveaway or bonus points on video poker, anything that you can tangibly identify as giving you an edge, you want to be playing against that if it's not obviously high volatility. So marketing should be your number one target. And again, your initial goal here is going to be to grow this bankroll, not to lose it, right? To slowly and patiently grow it so that you can take on larger and larger wagers and more risk and those sorts of things and actually start generating um, an income from this. So the next thing I would recommend are low volatility side bets. Now, your email to me actually was about Lucky Ladies. That is a fairly high volatility side bet and not one I would recommend at all. So when I'm talking about low volatility side bets, what I'd like you to do is to visit my website here. So let me just show you that again. This is my website, advancedadvantageplay.com. And if you go to AP Heat, you can see, for example, under blackjack side bets, there are all these side bets, right? So you mentioned Lucky Ladies. I knew an advantage player many years ago who had very little to work with. And he started out card counting the Royal 20s blackjack side bet. Now, this is one that still is around to this day, so you can find this thing here and there. But I mean, the point is not that this would be your target. Where can I find this side bet? But it is to look for side bets that have low volatility and a good return. They are rare, but if you find one, that's something you want to play against. Also look on your baccarat for side bets on that. So I would definitely not recommend the Dragon 7 as something or Lucky Ladies. And those are kind of two of the more common side bets that people exploit. But with your small bankroll, you really don't have that luxury quite to do that. So, all right, next. Hang on. Next thing I'm going to recommend is hole carding. You want to look for at all the games in the casino where you are and check out the hole carding opportunities. Now, hole carding tends to require a lot of study to master a fairly complicated strategy. You have to learn multiple games in order to be ready to take advantage of whatever game happens to present itself where you are. So for example, you might find a blackjack dealer exposing a card. You might find it on Ultimate Texas Hold'em bonus poker. You might find it on Mississippi Stud, right? Whatever the game is, you have to be ready in that instant, knowing at least a reasonable strategy, maybe not a perfect strategy, to play against that information. So what I would start doing is familiarizing yourself with all of the different ways that games are dealt at all the casinos in your location and start looking for these opportunities. If you start finding them, then as you find an opportunity, you might say, okay, I see Ultimate Texas Hold'em exposing a card, go learn about that. And then when you have some strategy figured out for that, then the next time you see that game, you'll be ready to jump right into it and you will kind of know that that's an opportunity. I would say blackjack is definitely something you want to be looking for. There are people who teach classes in how do you actually scout and look for these dealers and these opportunities. They're fairly high priced, multiple thousands of dollars for these classes. I never took a class like that. I just found that if I started opening my eyes, I saw that stuff. And so that's definitely something that I would say would generate a very high edge potential at sort of a lower risk level. Just if there's any one game, I would say look for Mississippi Stud, just because it's so powerful. If you happen to have that game at a local casino, start watching out for it. Now, once you start doing all of these things, right, you're hole carding and you're playing against promotions and maybe you are card counting some side bets, believe me, you will start meeting advantage players. And so probably the the best way to get started with $5,000 is this last way, which is to join a team, to meet some people, so that your $5,000 is put into a pot that will give you a certain percentage of the return based on all the work you do for the team. So the more hours you play, you'll get a larger return, and so on. So yeah, with $5,000, you really don't have enough to do anything significant unless you find a really good hole carding opportunity. That's the only way I think you'll make a substantial money with that. Other than that, joining a team is what you want. And you will meet these people once you start doing any sort of advantage play at all that's advanced in nature. You will start finding these people. Now, I do have, just again on my website here, just so you know, I have all sorts of other things for you to look at. So I do have, under novelty games, quite a bit on hole carding various games. I don't often give complete strategies, but I give a fair amount, especially for some games like Mississippi Stud. I think you'll find there's more than enough there for you. I also give some advice on promotions and coupons and these sorts of things, so that you might look through some of these articles as well. So the last thing that some people will talk about, and I do need to mention this just a bit here, is they will talk about just taking a shot, right? Just if you are working and you can replenish this bankroll, then just go for it. Play some random game that in a casino that you might get caught, right? You might burn out the game, you might lose your bankroll, whatever it is, just go for it. And my opinion is, if you hit that $20,000 bankroll, then you can start earning kind of a minimum wage of $25 to $30 per 100 hands reliably in a casino. But until you kind of get to that level of bankroll, your only options are to get lucky and find a really juicy hole carding game, to join a team, or to just take a shot. And until you can do one of those things, please, please, just keep your day job. That's the best thing you could do, right? Do not give it all up and get a van on your $5,000 and start touring the country and think that things are going to be easy for you. There's probably a few more things that, just because I've been out of the business for a few years, that I've overlooked. Maybe some people will mention a few things in the comments, but I hope at least this gets you started. All right, everyone, this is Elliot Jacobson. See you later.